approachable. Absolutely. Absolutely. All of these. And what it does is one other thing, which is it diffuses the ego. There is no competition. In other words, that leader understands that I don't have to put you down in order to teach you something or to show you the best way to do what you need to do, for example, or to recruit that person. So they are gentle in that sense. So there would not be ego competition in that with the leader versus the followers and so forth, which most of the times happens within companies most of the time. These leaders always lead by example. They won't teach something that they themselves don't do, which oftentimes people make that mistake and assume that others cannot read it through. Especially when it is people that you work with day in, day out, who can literally see you, or you're part of that community and you're one of their leaders. And what you're preaching is not really what you practice. That becomes transparent after a while. People can always tell who is the genuine person versus who is the fake person. And then they practice self-examination or introspection. They're very introspective people. After every event, they go back and reanalyze what they have done, what others said. Did I listen to that individual's grievance? Did I address it accordingly? What am I going to do about it next time? How can I do it better the next time? And so forth and so on. So only an introspective individual can literally have those inventories revisited each time, in order to correct it, in order to improve it, and so forth. They're problem solvers and critical thinkers. There are a lot of leaders who are like that. We know. But these ones would do it even if it costs them their reputation and dignity. They're willing to take the punches for a bigger cause. And that's different than the other individual who would solve the problem with you or without you, because that's the management style. So in other words, I'll try to solve the problem. If it does not work, then you're out. So because my word prevails over you. Now, these people are not in that business. They're in the business of saving the individual, earning and recruiting that individual and earning their respect, basically. So these, I'll stop here because in the interest of time to allow questions. This transformational leadership that we talked about, it can be used at the micro level and also at the macro level. And I think we need to think about that for a minute. Because earlier, as the speaker before me surveyed, we talked about community divisions, for example. How the organizations are still struggling to form unity, how the community itself is struggling with that. We talked about all of this. So someone who is a transformational leader, and these leaders, by the way, some have gotten the divinely they're divinely appointed. And others, of course, develop these skills and talents as they progress. So I just hope, as we organize these communities at the micro level, at the student association level, at the community gathering places, at the mosques and so forth and so on, we think like we are transformational leaders. So that way we can take few punches, we can focus on the big picture. We're not going to let anyone sacrifice. At the end of the day, then unity becomes a reality. And then with unity, of course, the speaker before me explained how important that is and what can be accomplished organizationally and institutionally and then at the community level, and then at the country level, and at the society at large level, and so forth and so on. With that, I stop. And thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Not necessarily questions. And I pray for a lot of comments rather than questions. Yes.
How can you tell that someone has the potential to become a transformational leader? I mean, a leader is never born, but it can be made. Like, how can you tell, and within yourself too, and with others?
Well, for one thing, and this is not just vague compliment, but I want to say everyone who showed up today here, all the youth that showed up today, and all the others that are listening to us, who showed the interest, that's an indication that they have the potential to become. Whether they are going to become or not, we need to test each one's ability by action, as the speaker before me said. Once they start delivering, then you will really see who can deliver and who cannot. And it's a trial and error, as long as we keep in our minds to improve the next time. So long as there is a progress, it doesn't matter how big of a progress it is, you stay focused on that until you develop, you master those skills. And that's how you can win and become transformational leader in the future. Anybody else who has, yes?
I was going to ask you about what's your message today for the youth around the United States or back home or here? What's your message today? What could they do better to accomplish, to be successful?
Simply put, think higher, think bigger, and don't become hostage to the history. Always there is a better day. We can improve always. And as long as we do that, you will see magic taking place. Anybody else? Comments? Yes? And I'll come to you here. So. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think that it's become very clear that identifying and developing leaders is really important, and especially for a community like ours that is, I think, still very much in the early stages of building institutions and things like that. And I guess this is more of a comment just to challenge everyone in the room, but especially the older generations in the room to really bring in the youth. And I think you made a great point that those of us who are youth and we're here, it's because we're really interested and we want to do something for our community. And I think something that could be really great is if we created a concrete mentorship program. Like maybe some of those of you in the room who are experienced with community organizing could take aside one of us, really make sure that exchange of contact information is made, those relational meetings we were talking about earlier, and don't just drop that relationship, develop it and really bring us up to rise into those roles. So I guess that's what I would ask everyone in the room to think about, and maybe coming out of this conference so that we have something concrete, that it's not just talk, but that we actually have something we can do when we leave at the end of the weekend.
I'll come back.
Thank you very much for the conference. And when I was teaching in Boston Public School, I was telling every single day Somali students and other immigrants to the United States, do you want to be somebody in the future, or do you want to be nobody in the future? You have two choices. Today we see in this room, Engineer Hussein, Saeed, today they are professionals. Yesterday when they come to the United States, they have no enough education,